Welcome into the college football every game on the board podcast with our number 3 hole hitter here, Kelly Stewart at Kelly in Vegas on Twitter, wagertalk.com. Kelly, welcome on in. How you feeling?
Hey, Drew, just got done doing my underdog parlay video. So
Nice.
Exciting stuff. Got to get that to my friends at Superbook Sports for, some production value because I am not good at TikTok. You and I were just laughing about that prior to the show starting. I've got stack of stats coming up with Pam right after this. And then you and I both have the hustle tonight. So busy Thursday and, we got Thursday night football tonight. While I don't know how entertaining it's going to be, I do have the Niners in 2 Survivor picks. So at least it gives me some action, if you will.
Okay. So yeah, Survivor, heavy favorite Thursday night. We also have a college game, but at least you have something to root for, but you have nothing against the spread?
I do not. This is tough. No Saquon Barkley. Giants, epic come behind win. Congratulations to everybody that had them over the Cardinals on Sunday. What a sweat that was. Slight lean to taking the points, maybe. The Giants did stay in Arizona all week. There really was, it's 2023. I think a lot gets made of travel anymore, but modern air travel isn't really that bad. I think Ariella Epstein and I talked about this morning. The body clock matters more than anything.
And Kelly, one thing, like if you did bet the other side, do you like that as a sports bettor though? Like knowing you're rooting for San Francisco and then you got to kind of like middle it with the other team plus the points. I always
I wouldn't do that to myself. I would not do that to myself whatsoever, personally. But I do think that the Giants maybe turned a corner on Sunday, if you will. Niners, really solid defense. That defense especially is not great to quarterbacks like Daniel Jones that are somewhat mobile. We'll see how it hey playing out tonight. But no real play. But, of course, you know me. I always love the dogs.
For sure. Dogs might be barking. So, hey, maybe
I hope they're not barking. Hopefully there's just like a backdoor cover. Like, they're down 14 and then they score and they lose by 7. Something easy. Like, I don't want to have to sweat this Survivor pick. What I want is chaos come Sunday.
Okay. And yeah, I was saying maybe some dogs barking on this group of games, guys.
Oh, completely different. Yes.
Yeah. We'll see what Kelly's got here as this is part number 3, every game on the board. If you go to Wager Talk live odds screen, the college football section, we are doing rotation number 371, 372, Colorado, Oregon, down to 393, 394, Mississippi, Alabama. It's those little numbers next to the team name. That's the rotation number. So we're doing part number 3 here. Starting us off, Kelly, Colorado and Oregon, 70.5 being the total, minus 21. That's the Oregon Ducks at home. I was looking to bet Oregon, but Kelly, I'll be honest, I didn't think the number was going to be this high. Throw it over to you. What are you thinking in the Pac-12?
You're too late. It was 14.5 last week. I thought that was a little high. I am not that high on Oregon, if we're being honest. I haven't been. If you remember, I had them losing to Texas Tech week 2. Crazy pick 6, got the cover. They're one of the only teams that is 3-0 against the spread. So I can see why the sharp guys are betting them here. Look, Colorado last week basically proved that they weren't this national championship team that the public thought that they were after a couple of nice wins over TCU and Nebraska. Now they're starting off Pac-12 play after being on the ropes to in-state rival Colorado State. And that was, Drew, did you stay up to watch that game? My dad and I watched that game. It was a dogfight. And when I mean a dogfight, I mean clawing, scratching, eye poking. A guy went to the hospital, and Travis Hunter plays both sides of the ball, which, you rarely see in college football anymore. That's a significant loss for this Colorado team.
Sure.
I wouldn't say he's the backbone of that defense, but he was an integral part of that defense. And that's where I'm looking at here. Colorado has some real liabilities on defense. And this isn't the TCU game where they're going to be able to match scores with Oregon, because Oregon does play a little bit more defense than the Horned Frogs did. I actually am jumping on with Joe Ranieri here. He and I do the college football edition of Bet on It. He said, look at the under 70.5 KIV, currently 70 on the Wager Talk odds screen. I'm cheering for like a 42-14 final here, Drew.
Yeah, that's going to be a sweat fest, this under, Kelly. That's going to be one of those hold your nose. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's going to be absolutely terrifying, Drew.
Oh,
that's why I'm just not going to watch. It's a 9 a.m. West Coast kick. I got lots of other things I'd rather be watching at that time.
Okay, Kelly, I got to reset my camera here if you're watching on YouTube. So I'll throw it over to you. Cal and Washington, 59 being the total, minus 20 in the hook. That's Washington at home.
Yeah, this is tough. I like this Washington team. I think they're getting a lot of love in the marketplace, Drew, and that kind of concerns me. Cal, our good friend and Hustle co-host, Chris Thurston and I drafted Cal in Ralph Michaels' college football pool, right? And we said, all right, this is a sneaky pick. Let's see what happens. And honestly, they've been the steal of our draft. It's been crazy. Cal even got the cover against your Auburn Tigers a couple of weeks ago. Really surprising. I have been pleasantly surprised by this team. Smoked me week 1 with North Texas. I thought they had a real shot to lose that game. Really no danger. Came back and whooped up on a crappy Idaho team. Is Washington the real deal? Michigan State. Let's not give them too much credit there, even though they did absolutely steamroll Tulsa. But that, game versus Boise State was rather interesting. No significant injuries other than Cameron Davis, who we knew was going to be out for the season. A slight nod to Washington here. But man, Cal has been a scrappy underdog. I'm going to end up passing on this one, Drew. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a backdoor cover by Cal here.
Yeah, I like the breakdown. I agree with you. I could see him coming through the back door. That is a scrappy Cal team. Good way to put it there.
Michael Penix Jr., he's looked great. I mean, are we going to start talking about him winning the Heisman? A couple of people have started rumbling about it. Let's see. Washington was actually, Chris and I, we had the 11th hole pick in our college football pool, and we took Washington. So very happy with their start so far.
The 11th hole pick. I'm not 100% sure what that is.
When you're in like a fantasy league, like you're drafted in a certain slot. We had the last pick. Unfortunately, we got 11, so we got stuck. Because of course everybody took Georgia right out of the gate. The teams that everybody's expecting to win. So kind of we were looking for a team. We're like, okay, who else can win 10 games? So we actually went Washington, Penn State back to back, like in the snake draft.
I got you. Okay, so the 11th hole pick for sure. And I actually like playing fantasy. I like to have the last pick. I really do, rather than the first. Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I love it, but I was happy to be able to get out a couple of teams I thought both could go, 10 wins back to back.
Next game up here, guys. 3 Pac-12 games to start off section number 3 with Kelly Stewart at Kelly in Vegas on Twitter. 7:00 Eastern here, Kelly. We get Oregon State and Washington State. The 2 remaining Pac-12 schools going to rebuild the conference here, the Conference of Champions. Beavers -3 road favorites here, Kelly. 58 the total in Pullman.
That's hilarious, Drew. That is like it's like the Pac-2 championship game here.
It is.
Guys, I actually am a huge Oregon State fan. I love this team. They have been excellent as an underdog for me over the years, but yet now they're not an underdog. And they've got DJ, who I'm not even trying to pronounce his last name, from Clemson. Remember, everybody wanted to put all the blame, Dabo Sweeney and company, acted like he was the problem. He transferred away, and they still got some of their own problems. All of a sudden now here they are. But again, great as an underdog, not so great as a favorite. Wazoo, though, also excellent as a number dog, 6-3 against the spread in their last 9. And I think this team, and 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 as a home dog. I like this Washington State squad. I didn't end up getting to the window on them. They were on my long list. They got pretty trendy. And sometimes I let that bother me from a handicapping perspective. When everybody loves a team, sometimes I stay off. Ultimately, could I end up on this one late? Maybe. We'll see.
Stay tuned, guys, as we'll head down the list here. A little Maction, Kelly.
Oh, yeah. Just what you wanted me to talk about. I wish I had looked at this list before I jumped on. I would at least text BP and been like, can you give me some help here, BP?
Well, Ohio and Bowling Green, I like Ohio. I really do.
Okay.
I think the Bobcats are pretty good. They went on the road week 1 against San Diego State and gave them all they could handle,
Iowa
really.
State last week. You're absolutely right.
And I would look to lay the points. I don't know if you.
Yeah, I mean, look at Bowling Green. Didn't they just get the crap beat out of them by Michigan last week? Mm-hmm. I don't know what there is. I feel like it's like lay it or don't play it. So Ohio's 3rd road game of the season. That's never fun. Could the back door be open? Potentially.
Little Maction, though. We're fitting it in here from time to
Why
time.
not?
Maryland and Michigan State up next, Kelly. -8. That's the Terps on the road. 52.5 being the total in East Lansing.
Yeah, I mean, Mel Tucker just got fired. Who wants any
Yeah.
part of Michigan State right now after what just happened in Seattle last week? Not me. Do I want to lay 7.5, and it's only going one direction with Maryland? Absolutely not. I can tell you, though, I did the college football edition of Bet On It yesterday with VR, and he did say, no, I lied. He did not say. I did the Kelly and Murray show last night with John Murray, and he said the Sharp guys laid 7 with Maryland. I am not laying 7 with Maryland. I refuse. I'm not. You've got Maryland, Tua's little brother. They have great offense, and their defense just isn't there. Do I think Maryland is improving? Sure, but it's either Maryland or pass for me. And again, I just can't see a world where I want to lay points with this team on the road.
Kelly, you brought up the Michigan State coach being fired. First off, from a handicapping perspective, I think it's tricky which way to go because I feel like the locker room could either like quit or they could kind of rally around. It kind of happens both ways. And also, have you like seen what actually happened? Like I saw Clay Travis, who I know you know pretty well. He put out a video that was kind of interesting. Did you see
Coach
that?
JB started it. I was texting with Clay, and listen, I don't know what to say. This woman has a history of things. She was not a Michigan State employee. I think what Michigan State is unfortunately trying to do is not have any other bad publicity after the team doctor with the unfortunate Larry Nassir incident. So my guess is they don't care. They're just going to pay Mel Tucker to go away, whether they think he actually had any wrongdoing or not.
Man, that's terrible. But they are paying him. That's what I was wondering. Because
I think they're going to have to.
Okay.
He's going to be able to sue the shit out of them, Drew.
That's what I was thinking.
He's under contract, and having a consensual relationship potentially. I mean, like Clay said, she could have hung up the phone. I mean, I had a weird number texting me the other day. It's very easy to block, but I mean, it is 2023. They're not, it's not a house phone. So. And 30 some phone calls and however many no's were explicit. That's tough. Is the team going to rally around him? I don't know. I haven't heard anything from that locker room. I can tell you that Scotty Hazelton, former defensive coordinator for Kansas State, is there. And I have no relationship with him, unfortunately, to see what kind of would be going on there, if that makes any sense. But I wouldn't be surprised to see some of those guys hitting the road, tons of kids hitting the transfer portal. I mean, that's just the new age of college football, right? Chris and I talked about on the Hustle Short on Monday in regards to our certain coaches keeping up with the transfer portal and how easy it is for kids to just leave. What would you do if you were at Michigan State?
Well, for the rest of the year, I would still play hard because it would make my value in the future
absolutely more. And we talk about that in professional as well, right, Drew? Like whenever it's like, oh, Arizona's tanking, I'm like, who's tanking? The ownership wants them to tank, but these guys don't want to tank. Whether that means that they have incentives built into their contracts for a certain number of tackles, certain number of catches, certain number of yards, whatever that is, their stock in getting traded to another team. I mean, just because the narrative is out there that one thing is supposed to happen doesn't mean that's what it is. So you're absolutely right, Drew. There's some kids that maybe still be playing their butts off, whether it's for Mel Tucker. Unfortunately, while it was a different type of incident that happened at Northwestern, it doesn't appear that Northwestern football really cares that much.
Yeah, that's something to take away from it. But interesting situation there with Michigan State and something to follow both on and off the field. Kelly, next one up, we got SEC, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt. The Wildcats -13.5 point road favorites, 50.5 the total in Nashville. We got like a half-built stadium here. A Vanderbilt team, I believe the only 0-4 against the spread team. I've bet them twice already. I'm about to tap out, but I might jump on them one more time. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, Drew, it sucks. You and I had the +10. We had a ton of times to be able to cover that game. Oh, but God. Yeah, after losing to UNLV, doesn't quite get that much worse, right? Just waiting for the SEC to boot them at this point in time and send them to, I don't know, the AAC or something. That being said, this is a tough team to back. Do I want to lay it with the Wildcats on the road? Not really. And I actually meant to look up their schedule to see who Kentucky has on deck, because sometimes that's something. Oh, yep. Florida. They play Florida, who just tapped the top 25 after beating the Vols next week. Could be an absolute look-ahead spot. 14.5. This one open, Drew. Down to 13.5. Somebody likes Vandy. It's just not us.
SMU and TCU up next. We got 63 being the total, -6.5 or -7. That's the Horned Frogs at home.
Yeah, I was very, very close to taking TCU. If you remember last week, I bet against TCU. I had Houston. Houston just couldn't get anything going. And maybe it was because, playing in overtime against Rice, they just had nothing left to play for. SMU's been great in this series, 8-2 against the spread on the road. They did lose last year, if you remember, 8-point home loss. That was frustrating. Man, TCU, on the other hand, lost, 8 guys to the NFL. Sonny Dykes, everybody tried to give him Coach of the Year. I'm not sure. I didn't get to SMU on the money line. I do still have them +6. I have them circled. Just kind of keep an eye on this one. Obviously, this is a very close rivalry. And SMU has kind of just been pushed to the wayside as of late. But they've been a scrappy dog. And I have to think here, they might be putting up a fight. Obviously, the Horned Frogs turned a corner last week. But prior to going into Big 12 play, I'm not sure that TCU is just a very good football program right now. And I know that is not great, but they do have Oklahoma on deck. Do they overlook SMU? No, of course not. But I need to do a little bit more work on this one. I looked at them early and said, nah, I'm just going to leave them off to the wayside and see if maybe I can't get to the window with them plus the points here.
We are brought to you by Viva Tequila Seltzer. VivaTequilaSeltzer.com, 4.5% ABV, 0 sugar. In honor of Kelly in Vegas, the grapefruit edition, her favorite.
I love me some Viva.
Remember, it's not just a drink, it's a statement. Embrace the vibes, own the winning mindset, and let's live it up. Viva Tequila Seltzer, raising a toast to cashing those tickets. Cheers to have those #Viva vibes.
I love the new read, Drew.
Thank you.
It. That's great.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Cashing, good vibes like that. Yeah, that just embodies drinking Viva on a college football Saturday.
Shout out to Steve, the owner of Viva, writing up some good
Happy
promos
birthday,
here.
Steve. Yeah, Steve's birthday as well.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is. I found out this morning. His mother was kind enough to remind me.
Nice. Okay. Well, yeah, guys, check them out. VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. Good owner and really good drink. My favorite drink, actually. We got Louisiana Tech and Nebraska up next here, Kelly. 47 being the total. Cornhuskers laying 3 touchdowns. Give me the dog here, the Bulldogs and Louisiana Tech. You like anything, Kelly?
Yeah, I'm really proud of myself. I stayed off NIU last week. They were on my long list, and Nebraska finally got some things together, right? Had some really good rushing, played some really solid defense. They do have some guys that are a little banged up. Jeff Sims, God, is he just almost unwatchable. At times. I only caught part of that Colorado game because I didn't have any action, but felt like every time I turned the channel to the Colorado-Nebraska game, I was like, oh my God, could he be any worse? I felt really bad for Nebraska backers. That being said, Louisiana Tech's not a good football program, right? 2-5 against the spread in just their last 7 games. What do we do with this team? And that's what kind of makes me just like, yeah, sometimes it's just better to stay off, right? These guys never play each other. The first time that they played each other since 2006. But Louisiana Tech historically has covered against Big 10 teams, excuse me. I mean, listen, Nebraska still has been upset by some of these non-Power 5 schools. Is that going to happen here on Saturday? I don't think so. But am I going to lay 3 touchdowns with them? Nah.
Kelly, maybe a quick one here. Tulsa, Northern Illinois, NIU -4 at home, 54.5 the total. Do you like anything?
Yeah, I like Northern Illinois. I always do. Tulsa. I thought maybe, I didn't end up playing them, but my dad and I were flipping back and forth last Saturday. He thought, oh, maybe Tulsa can give Oklahoma a game here. And that was not the case. Not only did they get smoked by Washington, they got smoked by Oklahoma. I think they gave up almost 1,200 yards in those 2 games. So I want nothing to do with Tulsa. They are just not that scrappy Tulsa underdog team that we're used to historically. And as we just talked about, NIU lost to Nebraska last week. Should they win this game? Yeah. Am I going to lay it? No.
Kelly, we got 3 left here, guys. Smash that like button if you're liking the content. Follow Kelly on Twitter at Kelly in Vegas. You can also check her out on The Hustle here at 7 o'clock Eastern on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. She's got What the Show and the podcast with John Murray as well. And that came out yesterday, Kelly?
Yeah, it came out last night.
Okay.
Our fearless leader, Johnny Detroit, spent all night getting it up before midnight East Coast time. So it was out last night. I got to do a better job of kind of getting all of my ducks in a row. I'm just going to do one big tweet every week so everybody can watch what they want. It's just easier that way.
That's a good way to do it. And yeah, guys, three games left. 389-390 here, 7:30 Eastern. Memphis and Missouri. I believe this is a neutral site game. -6.5. That's Missouri is the home favorite. 51.5 the total here, Kelly.
Yeah, Drew. This is the game actually that John and he was making fun of me. He's like, "Why do you hate Missouri?" I'm like, "I don't hate Missouri. That's not a thing. I know that most people from Kansas do, but they're usually Jayhawks fans." Look, that was an interesting game last week, right? Missouri had a couple, I would call them long passes to exploit that weak Kansas State secondary, and that's exactly what Troy was able to do. Then K-State, kind of a wonky call where they ended up getting a delay of game when they should have punched it in, kicked the field goal, go down. Of course, Missouri, another penalty, 61-yarder, SEC record. Everybody goes nuts. They rush the field. It was like they were 21-point underdogs, Drew. Like they partied so hard. If you remember, this game was supposed to be in Memphis, and Mizzou threatened to cancel the game because they didn't want to go. So they ended up putting this in a neutral site in St. Louis. Look, Missouri has not been impressive, even though they did beat my Kansas State Wildcats. Their last 2 wins by a touchdown or less. Look, you got Brady Cook, who's not 100%. I do expect him to play, but his own crowd even booed him last week. You've got Memphis with a rest advantage that played Navy last Thursday. I think Memphis wins this football game. Missouri in a letdown spot. Granted, they start their SEC play with Vandy, so I don't necessarily know they're looking ahead, but I think they're definitely reading their press clippings right now, and I wouldn't be surprised to see this as a field goal ending game as well.
Great breakdown there, Kelly. Yeah, they're catching 6.5 plus 200 on the money line, guys. If you're looking towards Memphis here, neutral site game, 2 left, 2 big ones. This next one here, Kelly, UCF and Kansas State as UCF makes their Big 12 debut. 52.5 being the total. Kansas State -4 in Manhattan. UCF traveling up there. Is Kansas State going to give them a warm welcome into the Big 12?
You know what, Drew? I'll ask Chris to clip this one for me because I've gotten more text messages about this game this week than I have about any K-State game ever. Sure looks like Will Howard's going to try to be a go. Everything I heard today, I told everybody earlier in the week, yes, he was on crutches on campus. Yes, I can confirm that. I got a personal text regarding that, not from Will, my Aunt Helen. Everybody relax before somebody tries to put words in my mouth. But it looks like it is not a structural injury. It is a soft tissue injury. So they're going to try to make him go. I don't think there's much drop-off between him and backup Avery Johnson. Avery is an absolute stud from everything we've seen from him so far. He knows the offense. I think there's a little bit of overreaction to Will being out, but that's not my concern here, Drew. My concern is Daniel Green, who was the backbone of that defense, getting hurt. He played 27 snaps hurt against Missouri last week. Shout out to him for being a complete and utter badass. There's no way I would have been able to do that. But unfortunately, he is out for the season. And as I mentioned, that K-State secondary is an absolute and utter liability. 2 young guys playing corner is never fun. And they got smoked against Troy on a couple big plays, including a one-handed catch. And they got smoked by Burton last week for Missouri. And we know that UCF has some weapons. Obviously, John Rice Plumlee was out prior to the Boise State game. They still were able to get the win at Boise State. This one's going to be tough, Drew. I'm going to tell you this right now. Gus Malzahn is lobbying to get another really high-paying job if this offense keeps clicking on all cylinders like they have been. But Manhattan, Kansas, late night is a tough place to play. So keep an eye on that. I got a lot of people who are like, oh, I took UCF +5 last night. I'm like, listen, if you like Kansas State, I think you wait. Obviously, things can change, but it does look, the text I got right before, let me read the text I got right before the show, just so I can make sure.
Sure.
I said, Will isn't cleared to play yet, but Klein said he's getting better. And as I mentioned, everything is soft tissue, not structural. I bet he tries to go and is severely limited. So that concerns me. But that doesn't mean they're not going to redshirt Avery Johnson. He will be available. He did play in the first game of the season. We saw some glimpses of him against Troy as well. This is going to be a tough game. This was not a game that I had K-State slated to lose. But again, defense is a real liability right now, especially without their starting linebacker, their captain. Daniel Green was the backbone of that. Now, Marco D'Angelo, what does he love to say at Wager Talk? Injured player theory. Everybody gets up and goes and plays. So if Daniel Green is out and Will Howard is out, I would be not surprised to see K-State have a couple guys step in their absence. Trayshawn Ward, Florida State running back. I just looked him up. He is doubtful, but Giddens was the guy who played behind Deuce Vaughn last year. Absolute stud out of Jefferson City, Kansas. There's some guys, right? There's some guys who play backup. I always say this, Drew. No matter if it's K-State, no matter if it's UCF, don't overreact to an injury, right?
Okay.
Just you can't. You can get ahead of it and hope to come back on the other side, which if you took 6.5 with UCF, great number. You took 5 even, maybe. But now at 4, I think you're a little late to the party here. And I think you got to pump the brakes and wait to now get the best of the information. Because you can either get the best of the information or you can get the best of the number. But it's very rare you're going to get both.
Words of wisdom from Kelly Stewart here. Fascinating handicap overall. You broke it down. Great there, Kelly. I mean,
a lot of words to say. I'm not betting this game, Drew.
No, but I mean,
I
you
did want to get some information.
It's night in Manhattan at primetime game. I know it's going to be on one of my TVs as I'm taking notes on college football. It's a great matchup.
A really great matchup. I think UCF is one of the more exciting teams to get to join the Big 12 this year. I know I'm excited to go to a game in the Bounce House in the future. So look, this could be an interesting rivalry for years to come. Obviously, I hope K-State squeaks out the win somehow, some way, but I don't have any action on this game one way or another.
Okay. And guys, we got one game left here. We'll try to get a best bet out of Kelly in Vegas before we shut it down. And again, feel free to comment below, smash that like button if you're liking the content. Every game on the board podcast. We'll bring in Robbie Vino to finish it off. We got last one here, Kelly. Get your popcorn ready. Lane Kiffin and Nick Saban, Mississippi at Alabama, 55.5 being the total. Alabama -6 in the hook in Tuscaloosa. You liking anything here?
Yeah, this is tough. John Murray told me that the Wise Guys played Ole Miss +7 earlier in the week. He said that last night on the Kelly and Murray podcast. I looked at Ole Miss. I thought, can they win this game? Sure they could. I looked at Alabama and I thought, God, could they have looked any worse last week than their 3 quarterback carousel? Like, the old joke was like, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks, Drew. And now it's like, what is going on in Tuscaloosa?
Mm-hmm.
Chris and I talked about it on Monday. I'm here for it a little bit. Like, I'd like to see some of these blue bloods of college football over the last decade, 2 decades, the Clemsons, the Alabamas, the USCs, the Notre Dames, all of those schools. Do I want to cheer for their demise? Yeah, absolutely. I love the transfer portal, right? Like, I want to see all of those teams go down. It's the same thing with basketball. It's been fun to watch an FAU, even though they beat my Kansas State Wildcats. It was fun to watch San Diego State. Like, yeah, sure. Connecticut still ended up winning it, but like Connecticut's went through their own trials and tribulations, from the basketball side of things. So I'd like to see that start to happen in college football. And I don't know, do you think the game has passed some of these guys by? Some of these guys trying to do it old school ways that they've been doing for years, and it's not working anymore because you promise kid they get to play and they don't play, that next year they're gone. They go take the money from a team like SMU, or they go get that free car in Colorado, or whatever that looks like. I mean, as much criticism as Deion's getting, I think he exploited the transfer portal like we're never going to probably get to see again. I mean, what did he get? 50+ kids? Mm-hmm. That is just downright incredible to get that many kids to buy in and say, come play for me at Colorado. Leave these X, Y, and Z schools and come play for me. I kind of have to wonder if that's not what's going on in Tuscaloosa, but I don't trust any of these quarterbacks, right? I really don't. I haven't seen anything from any of them. Ole Miss, on the other hand, we know how previously former coordinators did against Nick Saban, and then Steve Sarkisian went in there and beat him. So kind of have to wonder with Lane here. Then I hear Lane kind of chirping a little bit. I do like this Ole Miss offense, 8.19 yards per offensive snap. They have this, basically they were kind of going back and forth in the quarterback carousel themselves, but Jackson Dart, we'll see. Yeah, kind of going to be a fun one. I am not going to have any action here, but I can report that the Sharp guys took 7, pretty much 6 now on the Wager Talk odds screen.
Yeah, there's a 7 at DraftKings, but
is there still 7? Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go. If you like Ole Miss, you need to take them at DraftKings. If you like Alabama, you need to bet them everywhere else.
Boom. Kelly, bringing the heat here. Mississippi, Alabama in the books. We'll start off the next part here with Robbie Vino, Central Michigan and South Alabama, all the way through the rest of the slate on Saturday. Kelly, like to throw it back over to you. Do you have a most confident play, a best bet if you have it, and any final thoughts for the show?
Yeah, I've got 3 that made my money line parlay. I'll give out the other one tonight on the hustle because BP and I agree. But I'll give out this one just for you, Drew. I texted you earlier in the week, and I didn't get a lot from you, but I dug really deep on your Auburn Tigers plus 7.5. Listen, this team, while they didn't look that great in the first quarter last week, they got it together. But one of the things that I like about this team is their defense. They have 7 turnovers to start the season, and that's how you're going to beat the Aggies because that's what Miami did, right? If you can look at capitalizing off those turnovers, you can win football games. And then I started looking at Hugh Freeze, and I'm going, is this guy the new Bill Snyder? 28-11 against the spread as an underdog? Like, okay, I like that. 11 a.m. local kick in College Station. Maybe the Tigers can catch the Aggies sleeping a little bit, get out to an early lead, and not only catch the 7.5, but maybe the plus 250.
Love the breakdown, Kelly. I'm with you. I mean, Hugh Freeze as the dog, that 28-11, that record just jumps off the board at me. But let me throw one more thing at you. I didn't catch this until you brought it up, and I just searched it on the Wager Talk Live odds screen. You can get them as high as 8.5 right now. Did you see that point in the move? Does that scare you off of it, or does that make you like it more?
So I will say this. So I was talking to somebody earlier. We were going over our Westgate Super Contest picks, and he's like, "Oh, give me your 3 college." And he goes, and I think it was the Pittsburgh game moved against me as well, which we'll go over tonight on the hustle. And he goes, does that concern you? And I pulled up my old spreadsheet from the last one I hit. And just so happens, usually when I have the market go with me, Texas Tech, the Colts, we got lucky and we got the Seattle win in overtime, but good grief, I totally thought I was going to lose that game by 6. It seems like all these CLV trophies that I've been collecting over here on my desk in college football all year have not gone my way. So no, actually it doesn't scare me, Drew. In normal world, yeah. But this year, it seems like these CLV trophies have been getting just obliterated. So I do have 7.5 in pocket. Is 8.5 much different? Obviously, no, most games aren't going to land 8, but hey, we'll see how it plays out. I do like Auburn to be a little sneaky. It is an early kick. Sometimes those games you can catch teams sleeping. And I think Auburn has been a scrappy underdog. And even dating back to Gus Malzahn, weren't they a scrappy underdog then too?
Oh yeah, I didn't want him to fire Gus Malzahn. He was 3-4 against Nick Saban, and we fire him like he was money against the spread.
Yeah. That's what I thought. I thought I remember this isn't just like something new in Auburn, Alabama. So we'll see if they can't go down to College Station and get a nice outright win. Listen, road underdogs have been my bread and butter, and finding those ones this year. I slept on BYU last week at Arkansas. I slept at South Alabama on Oklahoma State and didn't put them in my parlay. This week I said I'm not going to let a road underdog scare me here.
Great in-depth analysis with Kelly Stewart at Kelly in Vegas on Twitter. Check her out, Wager Talk YouTube channel at 7 o'clock on the hustle. She's got the John Murray podcast as well. Auburn plus 8.5. That's the high water mark right now on the Wager Talk YouTube channel or on the Wager Talk live odds screen. And remember, guys, we are brought to you by Viva Tequila Seltzer, vivatequilaseltzer.com. Grapefruit is Kelly's favorite. Zero sugar. If you don't like hangovers, it's for you.
I've just decided, Drew, it doesn't matter what I do, I'm getting a hangover. Like I've just gotten to the point where I'm like, if I drink water too late at night, I'm gonna wake up hungover the next morning.
Hold on, Kelly. So if you drink beers and wine and a bunch
I
of
drink
sugary
anything,
drinks,
I drink
you'll get a same
anything,
hangover as drinking like 4 or 5 of these?
I'm telling you, alcohol, my body is just like, no. You like,
Oh, wow.
I bet I get hangover from coffee anymore. It's 5 o'clock here on the East Coast. I should not still be drinking coffee, but I'm trying to stay awake. I got 3 more shows left today.
All right, Kelly. Well, let's get you out of here. Thanks. Great breakdowns overall, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Cash those tickets. We'll be right back with Robbie Vino.